So we will study lecture 2 of the organizational communication, which is theoretical foundations. And today we will only study classical theories of the organization, only classical theories. And the other theories and schools, we will study it and explain it in the next classes. So as a preview of the last class that we have of the last lecture, we have studied chapter 1, which was the theoretical relevancy, what is communication, how to minimize misunderstanding, what is misunderstanding, what are the classical theories of organizations, and so on. So organizational communication foundations, as a review, is the process of creating, exchanging, and interpreting and storing non-verbal and written messages, or verbal messages. So it's a process of what? Communication is a process of what? Is a process of creating, exchanging, interpreting the message that comes from the sender and receives by the receiver. So it might be oral, it might be non-verbal, or it might be written messages. Sometimes it will be sometimes it will be interpreted correctly, sometimes it will be interpreted incorrectly. What we mean by interpreted? We mean understood. So when this will happen, like where this will happen, it will happen during communication among individuals within the organization, because since we're talking about organizations, that we bring organizational examples, because even not in organization, communications are everywhere, every time. So it will occur in a system that is of interrelated and interdependent people working to accomplish common tasks and goals. What are those common tasks and goals? They are organizational goals and the tasks in order to achieve those goals. Communication is counted as a center of the organization. So it's a base and the center of organization. So we have some assumptions and features about communication. This is a recap for the previous class. We can say communication is central to the existence of the organization. So it's in the center of existence of the organization, meaning that it's very important. It's the core, okay? Organizational communication is a complex process. It's very complex. Why it's complex? Okay, because you need to create the message, then you exchange that message, then the receiver will interpret it, then it will be stored. So it's complicated. Sometimes it might be delivered not in a right way, but in a wrong way or incorrectly due to noise in the environment. So as we said, misunderstandings is really and very possible to occur. The primary goal of communication is what? Is to reduce misunderstandings through communication. So our primary goal to enhance communication, to learn more about communication, to understand communication, to know how communication works and how to be able to communicate in a clear way, in an easy way, is to, the purpose of this is what? Is to reduce misunderstandings. So this is a recap of the previous class. So an explanation, theory is what? What is theory? It's an explanation for how or why something occurs. So theory is an explanation for how and why something occurs. We are asking why this thing is happening, why this thing is that way. So it's an explanation. Theory tells us how things happen and why they happen, why things are there and how they are there. So the question, what is the most efficient and effective means of running an organization? So this question is, what is the best way to run an organization? So think about it in a moment and you may answer the question, or tell me, what do you understand from this question? We are top management because they are the one who prepare a strategy. They are the one who establish goals, write down plans. But of course, They cannot be the only one to achieve success. After them, we have middle management, which are the departments and head of departments. After them, we have the employees and operational level of employees. So all together, they can achieve success for the organization, because even if we have a good management but we don't have qualified employees, maybe we cannot achieve complete simple tasks, and if we cannot complete simple tasks properly, we might not achieve goals in time or according to the standards. So all of the departments, everyone in an organization is very important to achieve success. And of course, if we want everyone everywhere in all different levels in an organization to work together and achieve success, what do we need? Can you tell me what do we need for that? We need communication. So communication, as we said, it's a center and it's a very important part. We can say it's the heart of the organization. So we need communication to achieve success, to be an efficient organization, to be effective, to run it in a good way. All right, thank you. So let's continue. So what are the functions of these theories? What do theories do? They describe, they tell us what is this thing. They describe, they explain. So as we said, explain. So they predict means they forecast. They will say this means that, this might happen in the future. If we do things like this, maybe things will happen like that in the future. So they predict for the future, they forecast for the future. And they control also. So the theories, they establish principles. So they ask any organization that follows a certain theory, they are aiming to control their organization and their staff according to the principles and descriptions of that theory. So classical approach to organizational management and early organizational theories were designed to predict and control behavior in organization. So theories are there to describe what is organization, how do they work, what are the best way according to that theory in order to run an organization. Then they explain the theory and explain the parts of the organization. Then they predict the future. Then they aim or they tend to control. So those approaches for organizational management, when they were established, they were designed to predict and control behavior in organizations. So meaning that they wanted to understand behavior in organizations and also to control those behavior in organizations. So they wanted to predict what's going on, what will happen, and how to control things and people in organizations. So classical theories of organization, so they emerged in early part of the 20th century, so in the beginning of 1900s, meaning that in the early part of 20th century. The models were military and the Catholic Church. So the models for the classical theory were developed through military behaviors and Catholic Church principles. Also, the features of the theories in those times were created, such as strict control of workers. They wanted to control the labor and the workers very strictly, very hardly. Absolute chains of command, meaning that they wanted to have orders from top to the bottom, so there were very strict obligations. Predictability of behavior, so they were predicting behavior and expecting the labor to behave in that certain way that they are asking them to. Also, an unidirectional downward influence, meaning that the top of the management always wanted to influence the lower levels of the management. So classical theories of organizations and relevancy and metaphor. So let's understand what is the relevancy and metaphor for organization. So we ask how and why does studying classical theory help us to understand how modern organizations function. So we want to know how these classical theory helps us to build up the modern theories. The classical theories helps us to understand the modern organization's function and particularly the role that communication plays in effective organizing. So the basic of modern management and modern theories is the classical theory. So the theories of management and understanding organizations started step by step from the classical theories to the modern theories nowadays. And of course, those classical theories helps us to understand the role of communication and how it is effective in organization. So what is the metaphor which characterizes the classical approach to organizations? We will learn about this. What are the characteristics of classical approach to organization? So the metaphor of machine, what is the importance of machine? What is the effect of machine? We can say organizations are viewed as if they are machines. So they saw organization as machines to produce, of course. Such as managerial principle, they established principles, okay, for management. Modes of operation, how to work, how to operate. Then treatment of worker, also they established and described how to treat workers and how they started putting principles and rules for the treatment of the workers. Then communication in the organization, how communication should be performed and done in organization. Then we have properties of machines. What are the properties of machines? Very predictable, should be very predictable, so they wanted to understand how these machines work. Rarely deviates from the norm, so they expected that things should go in the same direction and mistakes cannot happen. Also replace defective parts with other standard parts. So they were aiming to establish a standardization. They wanted everything to be in a standard way. Also specific rules exist regarding repair and specific roles. So they, as I said, they had rules for everything. How to work, how to deal with machines, how to deal with workers, how to do repairing, how to assign each one for their roles and tasks. Then we have organizational application. Workers behave predictably, management knows what to expect. So, as we said, they wanted to know how workers work. They wanted to forecast it, predict it. So the management always know what they're expecting. Also, workers operating outside expectation are replaced. So if any worker didn't obey the rules, didn't obey the orders, and they worked in a different way, not in the expectations of the management, they were directly fired and they were replaced with new workers. So here we are talking about minimizing and misunderstanding, how to minimize or eliminate or reduce misunderstanding. So it's simple. Promote principles of specialization, standardization, and predictability, meaning that promote some principles of specialization. Specialization is that each person is specialized of something. Each department is specialized of doing something. So for example, as we mentioned before, we have department of HR, they're specialized in HR. We have department of IT, they are specialized about IT. We have department of finance and accounting, they're specialized in accounting. So each department and each individual should be specialized in something in order to establish some principles to them and understand what to predict from them. Then a standardization. Of course, they wanted to make things standardized. I believe you heard the word standard. Standardization means standard things, making things on the same quality, quantities, how the features are the same. So standard meaning that making things go in the same way that is expected or assigned for. For example, you're saying, let's prepare this thing according to the standards. So what are the standards? Meaning that things within the same quality. And predictably, as we mentioned, predictably mean what do you predict, what you expect from them. So this is the first thing. So if we have specialization, standardization, and know how to predict, it's things will be more clear for us. When things are more clear, so misunderstanding will be minimized. Then we have strict rules, regulations. Of course, in the classical methods, they had very strict rules and regulations, such as how work is accomplished. They exactly wanted the staff to accomplish work the way they wanted, the way they asked for. Not in the modern organizations, things does not work like that. If an employee is assigned to do something, they are free to choose the method. They might be more creative than the management. So it's not necessary always to obey the rules and regulations of accomplishing a certain task. Maybe some employee will be smarter, will be more creative and do it in another way and still achieve the organizational goals. But in the classical theories, they even wanted to accomplish certain tasks in certain ways according to what they're asking them for, based on specialization, standardization, and predictability. Then how could speak to whom and when? So these were rules. For example, you cannot speak to this department, you can only talk to your manager or supervisor, you cannot jump and go to talk to the top management. So these were also rules in the classical theory. Then managing through fear. So the management were always frightening their staff. So through fear, the staff were afraid of the management. So they were trying to control them through making them afraid from them. Then also we had problems, of course. Creativity and intelligence are underutilized. So if you are controlling your staff this strictly, of course you will kill creativity in them. You will kill intelligence in them. You're not letting them to be creative. And increased dissatisfaction. So it made the staff dissatisfied. The staff was not satisfied at all because making them afraid of you, telling them whom to talk, whom not to talk, telling them how to accomplish even a very simple task of a day makes the staff feel overloaded, under pressure, overwhelmed, and they will not be happy. So if the staff is not happy, of course, dissatisfaction will increase. And decreased motivation and commitment to task and organization. Of course, if these things happen, staffs will be demotivated and they will be less committed to the tasks of the organization. They will not be happy. Even the rate of turnover will increase, so they will think about going and working somewhere else. And decreased communication effectiveness and satisfaction. So as long as the organization are this much strict, communication effectiveness, a good communication or a clear communication will be decreased. So we will have less better communication and less satisfaction among the staff. So distinguishing classical theories, let's read about each theory and make a differentiation between them, distinguish them. We have creative applications kit, which is theory matchbook definition. This theory describes the theory of in a nutshell. Okay, we will study it now. Then we have principle of management, major elements of the theory, application in the modern workplace, and personal examples. How the misunderstanding minimized, what new forms of misunderstanding are created, unintentional byproduct, contributions to occurrences of different problems. So we are starting to study these one by one. So let's start with Taylor's theories of scientific management. Let's see how Taylor founded this theory. So Frederick Taylor in 1856, he was born in 1856 and passed away in 1915. So he is called the father of the scientific management. What he wanted to do through developing this theory, he wanted to maximize workers' capacity and profits. So he wanted workers to work more and more, produce more and more, and in order the organization profits more. Also, the problem he get employees to work at their management capacity. So he made the worker to work under the capacity of the management. So this was a problem. Primary focus, what this theory focused on, he focused only on the tasks. He ignored the behavioral and emotional parts of the employees. Then systematic soldiering. So deliberately working slowly as to avoid expanding more effort than deemed necessary. So this theory wanted to make workers act and work like soldiers in the military. So it made the workers to sometimes work slower to avoid expanding more effort. That sometimes it was unnecessary. And there are reasons, of course, behind this because they were overwhelmed. Then reduction in workforce due to decreased needs. So sometimes what they did in this management, they reduced the number of the employee in order to pay less. Okay, as long as you reduce the number of employees, you will have less number of employees to pay salary and wages to. So this is one of the ways to maximize profit. And piecework system of remuneration, raise production requirements without increasing pay. Also, they wanted what? They asked the employees to work more, to produce more, and they had more requirements without increasing any payment for them. So this was like extremely tough with the employees. And rule of thumb, trading method, and efficient. So they were like frightening the staff. They were making them afraid of them. They were using threatenings in order to make them do things. So this made the work to be inefficient. Continuing about Taylor's theory of scientific management. So elements, what are the elements of this management? Scientific design of every aspect of every task. So they designed for everything and every task. They said you have to do things like 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to do it in this way. You have to do it in that way. So they designed everything which kills the creativity among the employees because it does not let the employee to think and be creative. They will tell them even how to push a button. Then time and motion studies, they were observing the employees, how much they are producing during a certain time and what are their motions, what they do in order to produce. Then careful selection of training of every task. Then proper remuneration for fast and high quality work. Okay, they thought their remuneration is proper, but it was not. They were mostly using human as machines. They were not thinking about the psychological side of human. They were caring only about making them produce more and more, such as maximizing output. So they had sort of motivation, such as maximizing output and increasing pay. An equal division of work and responsibility between worker and manager. Then underlying themes. What are the underlying themes? Managers are intelligent, workers are and should be ignorant. So they thought management are smart, managers are intelligent, but the workers are not, and they were ignoring them. Then provide opportunities for workers to achieve greater financial rewards. So they were asking the workers if they work more, they will be paid more. Workers are motivated almost solely by wage, so there is no other way rather than wage to motivate workers for. And maximum effort, higher wage. So if you work more, we might pay you more. And manager is responsible for planning, training, and evaluating. So they were not letting employees to improve themselves or think about their career development. They were only thinking that manager is the one who is responsible of planning, training, and evaluating. All right, let me continue. So Taylor's scientific management, application in the modern workplace, how to apply this in the modern workplace. So assembly line plats as prototypical examples. So some organizations are using this theory as a test, as a prototype. Prisoners of Taylorism, but they are called prisoners of Taylorism. So modern workplace think that this theory of scientific management is like a prison. System of remuneration, quotas, and commission. So those organizations who only remunerate their employees by payments financially, they are sort of applying this theory. Redesign, re-engineering, meaning that designing over again the things, how this organization work, all the things, re-engineer, maybe some departments, the structure. So this also, sometimes they redesign it according to the principles of scientific management. Then benchmarking, when these things achieve their the ideal. And data are used to refine, improve, change, modify, and eliminate organizational process. So data might be used to make the organizational process better, change it, and make some edits in it. Learning, lean manufacturing. So this is mostly about factories, how they are producing goods. And here is a video you can watch. There is a very simple explanation in it about the Taylor's management, scientific management theory. So we have another theory which was developed by Fayol, Henry Fayol. It's called Henry Fayol's administrative theory. So this theory is also part of the classical school of management. So Henry Fayol, he was born in 1841 and died in 1925. General and industrial management. So his theory is about all types of organizations. The principles and elements of management is how managers should accomplish their managerial duties. Also, his primary focus was on management, but in the previous scientific theory, the focus was on what was on tasks. Then, of course, focusing on management, meaning functions of administration. There were more respect for worker than Taylor, because in the Taylor scientific theory, there were minimum respects for workers. So in Fayol, in Henry Fayol's theory, workers are motivated by more than money. Also equity in worker treatment, which was not found in Taylor's theory. And more prescriptive, okay? Meaning what? More prescriptive. Things were more described and more easier to understand. So Fayol's administrative theory, there is 5 elements of management which are managerial objectives of this theory, which are planning, organizing, commands, meaning giving orders, then coordination, helping each other, and control. So if you remember, in the previous chapters we studied planning, organizing, directing, controlling. But according to Fayol's administrative theory, the elements of management or the functions of management are 5, which are planning, organizing, commanding meaning ordering, coordination meaning helping each other, working together, then controlling. So keep machine functioning effectively and efficiently. This is another principle of the administrative theory. They wanted the machine to always work effectively and efficiently and replace quickly and efficiently any part or process that did not contribute to the objective. So anything that does not help to achieve goals, they were eliminating it or replacing it. Fayol's administrative theory, it has 14 principles of management, tools for accomplishing objectives. Those 14 principles, we also studied this in the Introduction to Management Chapter 1, but I will again explain it here because it's part of this module as well. So 14 principles of management for files administrative theory. The first one is division of work, limited sets of tasks. So how to divide work among the workers, how to assign each employee or each worker to a certain task. Authority and responsibility, right to give orders, who has authority, who can give order, and who is responsible of what. Then we have discipline. Discipline means agreements of sanctions, meaning that there are rules and systems we all need to agree and obey. Unity of command. So unity of command meaning that only supervisors can give orders. So the orders come from one place. Then unity of direction, one manager per set of activities. So this means managers are responsible for directing their staff. Okay, so one manager for a different group of staff or for a different task or activity. Then we have subordination of individual interest to general interest. So this means how to make individuals all together have general interest in the sake of the organization. So general interest comes, then individual interests. Remuneration of personnel, fair price for services. So they were, one of the standards is about remuneration, which is the payment. So they were like negotiating, or maybe they were thinking to pay fairly to their employees. Then centralization we have. So reduce importance of subordinate role, meaning that everything must go back to the center and decision making comes from the center, which is the top management of the organization. So in this case, the role of the employees and subordinates will be less important. Scalar of chain, okay, meaning that how things go from step by step, from where to where, how things pass from a department to another, from a level of management to another. Then we have order, effective and efficient operations. So order comes from one place in order to do what? To make the staff work effectively and efficiently during their operations, their tasks. Then we have equity, meaning justice, kindness and justice among the workers. Then we have stability of tenure of personnel, meaning that sufficient time for familiarity. So they were trying to make things stable and understandable by all the employees. Also initiatives, managers should rely on workers' initiatives, meaning that there might be workers who want to add up something. They might be listened to. It's possible the managers listen to them and listen to their suggestions and initiatives. Esprit de corps, meaning union strength or loyal members. So they wanted loyal members who is all understanding each other. And you can read more about the principles in this link that is mentioned at this slides. So let's move to still we are talking about files administrative theory. So it says that it's positioned communication as a necessary ingredient to successful management. So for files administrative theory, communication was important, and they thought it's necessary. They believed it's necessary to have a successful management. Application in the modern workplace. So files elements of management are recognized as the main objectives of modern management. So the elements which we said, planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and controlling. Now they are recognized as the main objectives of modern management, which have shifted a little bit to directing instead of commanding. Then we have planning, or more participatory. Now in modern organizations, not only top management plan alone, but other levels of management participates in the planning process. Then organizing. In modern organizations, human relationships and communication are considered as a very important part. Then Okay, important. There's a table in the book, but unfortunately we don't have the book. There's a comparison of managerial skills. We don't have this book because it was not offered by the UTM. Then we have specially applicable for large organizations. So this method is more applicable for large organizations whose the number of employees are large. Then we move to Weber's theory of bureaucracy, Max Weber. Max Weber also counted as one of the classical school. He was born in 1864 and died in 1920. So he was a German sociologist. He founded the theory of social and economic organization he's a founder of the theory of social and economic organization in 1947. His principles and elements of management describe an ideal or pure form of an organizational structure, general policy and specific commands. So what he was focusing on, how to describe the structure of an organization, how to establish and write down general policy and specific commands in an organization. His primary focus was on organizational structure, and he believed that workers should respect the right of managers to direct activities dictated by organizational rules and procedures. So he believed that there should be rules and procedures that is written by the organization and given to the managers, and employees should follow and respect it. It was more descriptive, and there is this link, you can read more about it. So Weber's theory of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy allows for the optimal form of authority, rational authority. So he believed that there should be authority. So this theory is mostly about the authority, who should be authorized of what, who should have power. There are three types of legitimate authority. The first one is the traditional authority, past customs, personal loyalty. Then we have charismatic authority, personal trust in character and skills. Then we have rational authority, rational application of rules and law. What does this mean? So authority meaning that who has the power over who. There were three types. The traditional authority, like in the old time, who traditionally has been passed authority to. Then we have charismatic authority, like there were people who had charisma and people trust them, so they had the authority sometimes to direct people. And we have rational authority, like having authority through rules and law. Someone in a position has the authority to make orders. So there are these three types of authority. Let's continue. So Weber's theory of bureaucracy, tenets of bureaucracy. Let's see, what is this? There are rules, specific sphere of competence. Hierarchy was very important for this theory. They believed in hierarchy. Specialized training for those who are assigned to do something. Workers do not own technology, so there were no technology and they didn't work through technology. No entitlement to official position by incumbent, so there were no entitlements and titles for officially positioning someone. Everything is written down. Maintenance of ideal type, so they were looking for perfection. Also concerned with describing the ideal structure of an organization. So this theory wanted to have a perfect organization and create an ideal structure for the organization. And they were believing that all the rules should be written So the rational application of written rules ensure the promotion of legitimate authority and the effective and efficient functioning of the organization. So they were thinking that if the rules are written, they will make sure who will follow, who will obey, who will not, and how to give authority legally based on the rules and law, then how the organization functions in an effective and efficient way. So they were making rules a standard for the organization to function. So how to apply this in the modern workplace? So large organizations guided by countless rules are bureaucracies. So if you see a large organization, a big organization who has countless rules, all the time rules, regulations, meaning that they're following the bureaucracy theory. Linked with inefficient, slow-moving organization. So slow-moving organization and efficient organization usually follow this theory. Organizations have several characteristics of bureaucracy. Of course, there are still modern organizations who follow the bureaucracy principles. Okay. So in summary, what we have studied today: classical theories of organization, which they are Taylor's theory of scientific management, Fayol's administrative theory, and Weber's theory of bureaucracy. All three theories attempt to enhance management's ability to predict and control the behavior of their workers. So all these three theories, they are under the classical school of management. They all want to enhance management ability to predict and control the workers. So they are all thinking about giving more power and authority to the management and controlling workers more and more. Also considered only the task function of communication. So they ignore the relation between employees, how communication works, how communication can be good. So their only consideration was about how to perform the tasks, how to function, not how relations are, how communications can be enhanced, and designed to predict and control behavior in organization again. So this is all what we have studied for today. Do you have any question? Is there anything you didn't understand? We will study the humanistic theory in the next class. Any other questions?